Hartzer, and today I'm going to talk specifically about SEO in 2020, and this is the beginning of 2020, but in January, and I want to talk a little bit about what we can concentrate on as digital marketers, what can we concentrate on this year, and what's hot and what you should be focusing in on. And OnPage and SEO in 2020. OnPage, which means actually the page itself. Let's take one web page of a website. We need to actually focus on old style on-page optimization, because old style on-page optimization actually works to get better rankings. And it may be that you have the content, but it's just a little bit of tweaking is needed of the actual traditional HTML markup so that search engines can understand a little bit better your particular page. And this could mean that you have, let's say, code bloat, or which means basically that you have extra code that you don't really need, or different type, different code. Even though it loads and looks good in the browser, we actually need to go back to our roots of HTML and do things like change strong tags to traditional bold. Use things like H1, H2, H3, H4 tags. Rather than just making a heading look like a heading, let's go ahead and make it look like a heading with the right with the right large font and so forth. But let's make sure there's an H1 tag, an H2 tag. Proper markup like this, and just going back to a page and looking at the HTML code and cleaning it up, can actually lead to a quick win. If you have a list of items and you're not marking them up with the traditional bulleted list or numbered list HTML code, which is the UL and OL and line item type of HTML, just changing that, then actually lead to a quick win. Like maybe it's you have the content, but maybe it's optimizing it a little bit better. Could get you a featured snippet. I've seen that happen. I've seen that occur in the past. Basically, you want to make sure that each page on your website does have the proper schema markup. And you can take a look at schema.org. I'll mention schema in a few minutes. Also, whenever you make a change to a page, it may be a minor change. It may be ideally cleaning up the code on a page. Like I said, going back and changing some things from, changing heading tags, for example, or doing something like that. When you make a change, my bonus tip here is to actually manually go into Google Search Console and resubmit using the URL inspector tool, and go ahead and resubmit and actually allow them or ask them to recrawl the page. In fact, that can actually cause them to come back, recrawl the page, and I've seen within 15, 20, 30 minutes, an hour, a few hours, rankings changes because you made the change and you actually asked them to recrawl the page. Moving on to some OnPage SEO tools. Let's talk specifically, there are a bunch of tools you can use. Running Screaming Frog SEO Spider is helpful, and actually, you'll end up with something like you'll be able to look at title tags, heading tags, H1s, H2s, and so forth, and canonical tags, things like that. You can actually customize, some of that as well. And some of that data, and see a lot of good data there. Page Optimizer Pro at pageoptimizer.pro actually does a pretty good job of helping you optimize that particular page. Like I said, go back to the roots of H1, H2 tags, the traditional HTML markup, and making some changes and making some recommendations there, and changing those, doing some tweaks of that, and resubmitting. That can help. If you have not written the content yet, I'll take a look at the inlinks.net content brief tool. It will give you some suggestions about how many words, for example, and what type of site structure you need for that particular page to optimize it. You can take a look at that content brief tool. Featuredsnippettool.com is also helpful. Use that as well. There is my bonus for OnPage SEO Tools today is a site called or a service called Quix, Quix, and you can use the SEO CSS command there. Essentially, it puts a bookmarklet in, or a button in your browser, that you can basically be on any web page. You can, whether it's yours or a competitor's or any web page, and as you're viewing it in the browser, it will overlay the primary HTML code, like it'll show you which heading is an H1, H2, and so forth, and it'll show you some of those basics overlaid right on the page. It's pretty helpful to take a look at. OnSite SEO, and so I was talking, just a minute ago previously about OnPage. Well, let's talk a little bit about OnSite SEO. Let's talk about OnSite being the whole site itself. Internal links with anchor text. Those are, definitely important. So one of the quick wins that you can do in particular is take a look at your important pages. Make a list of them. They could be a product page or a services page, for example. Let's take a services page. One of the services page you want to rank a little bit better. Well, what you can do is actually go through your site, go to blog posts, go to other pages, go to your home page where you mention different services. Actually look for a paragraph of text, and if you can go into that paragraph of text and make a link to that services page using the anchor text or keyword that you want to rank for, just go ahead and, if you have a blog post and you mention that particular keyword in the blog post, make sure that it actually links back to your service page that you want to rank with the keyword that you wanted. You don't have to have branded keyword. You just use the actual anchor text you want to rank for, the keyword. That's internally on your site. Typically, you could easily do a search at Google site : domain.com or site : billhartzer.com and find all of the pages on your site where you have mentioned that particular keyword, and then you can actually go and edit those pages and where you mentioned and basically make a link in a paragraph of text and link that back. That exercise, it will take a few days. It could take a week or two for Google to recrawl the site and see those links. But honestly, that is another thing that you can be doing. Let's talk about the site structure. Let's look at the whole entire site. Do you have what is called a mega menu? Do you have every single page on your site linking to every single page? It's probably not something you want to do in 2020. You want to have more of a silo type link structure, meaning that you go to your home page and you have the main, or in the main navigation as you look at it, those are the main topics of your site and the categories. Okay, but under those categories, those category pages need to then link out to other pages in that particular category. So you want to take those themes and make sure you have several different themes going on your site. OnSite SEO Tools. We can crawl our site. I mentioned Screaming Frog earlier, but Sitebulb, OnCrawl, and so forth. Those are two tools that allow you to crawl the site and find out, site structure issues or various issues that are going on with the site-wide. It's definitely something you want to do. Also, I mentioned intlinks.net. Intlinks.net will actually, I mentioned internal links, creating internal links, but intlinks.net will actually help you create internal links and add schema, a proper schema.org markup code on your site. Also, we can take, as far as tools, we can use the schema app. If you want to do it manually, which I prefer in a lot of cases, is to actually go to, technicalseo.com has a schema markup, a generator you can use, and there's different types of schema code. There's article schema, local schema. If you're a local business, you want to add your name, address, and phone number, and so forth. There's different WordPress plugins to help you add schema to pages as well. OffSite SEO in 2020. Meaning, we talked, it's not on page, it's not on site, but it's off site. So anything, off site would be something that is another website that either links to you or mentions your brand. When you're focusing on getting links, external links to your website, let's try and not focus on keyword anchor text. Internally you can use your keywords that you want to rank for in that anchor text, but actually what we want to do now is use your brand plus keyword anchor text. So rather than saying, SEO consultant, and linking that in the anchor text back to Hartzer.com, okay, let's talk about, let's shift it a little bit, and let's make it where you use your brand in that. So let's say Hartzer SEO consultant, Hartzer SEO consultants, SEO consulting, Hartzer.com, those types of things. Rather than using your brand in there, let's, if you actually using just something like SEO consultant and that's your keyword you want to rank for and it's linking back to your site, it's a little bit over optimized, I would say. And so what you want to do is actually just make it a little bit more natural, and using, you talk about Hartzer SEO consultants, rather than just saying SEO consultants as your keyword. Don't forget about spending time also link building to your tier 2, 3, 4, and so forth links. What I mean by tier 2, tier 3, okay, let's talk about tiers. Basically, you have links that are directly to your site. Let's say a Better Business Bureau listing. You have bbb.org and that links directly to your site. That's tier 1. Tier 2 would be as if you spend time getting links and making links from other websites to your BBB listing that is solely about your company, and then that links over to you. That would be tier 2. The reason we want to do that specifically is because of the fact that when it's a couple things. It boosts that particular BBB listing or the page that's linking to you. It's on topic because it's about your website and your brand and so forth. Okay, and so that's going to be a positive thing that's going to help your links directly. The same thing though is to think about when you do a search. When you do a search for your company name, for example, there are certain pages, like let's take the example of the BBB, and bbb.org. You want to actually have that listing. If you have obviously if you have a positive rating with BBB, you want to actually have that particular page show up in the search results. So let's, you're going to rank for your company name or your brand or your website when people search for you, but in fact you want other links pointing to your the pages that are positive. And that's, we think online reputation management and a lot of other things like that, but let's, that's, don't forget, in 2020 we need to focus on tier 2, tier 3, links that are pointing to you, but links that are pointing to you, and then even get more links that are pointing to a page that then points to you, and so forth. And so let's spend some time there. It really comes down to quality and trusted links, and we want our link profile, the list of links and that are linking to our websites. We want those to be quality links, and we can do anything to get rid of the lesser quality links. That's going to be a positive thing. The ones that are toxic or ones that are not very good. Also, let's focus a little bit on the knowledge graph and what I call knowledge panel SEO. Ideally, we want to get our company, or if you are an individual, you want to somehow get a listing in the Google Knowledge Graph. That's different than a Google My Business listing. It's a little bit more difficult to get. That means that your company, or you have been mentioned in the news. You have actually, when you do a search for that company name or that individual's name, on the right hand side of Google and actually in Bing, you will see, if you're in the knowledge graph, you'll actually be able to see specifically, you'll be able to see a call out, a sidebar that has information about that individual or about that company. That's part of the knowledge graph, and several search engines, Google and Bing, use a knowledge graph, and that's a knowledge panel. There is a local knowledge panel, which is a Google My Business listing in Google. The same thing with on Bing, there's a local panel that shows up. Those are different, and that those are fairly easy to get. That supposedly gives a little trust, but what we want to get the good trust that we want to be in the knowledge graph and the knowledge panel. OffSite SEO Tools. Finally, I'm going to wrap this up with OffSite SEO Tools. I mentioned getting links and looking at your link profile. Majestic.com. I do have to say I am a brand ambassador for Majestic, only because I use it. I use it every single day, and it's part of my my SEO routine. Monitoring links and so forth. On the right hand side, under the Majestic logo, you can see their latest feature that you should that you should be paying attention to, which is link context. And if you look at this and you see the green box there, that actually shows that there is a link to this website. The trust flow is 43, which is pretty good. The citation flow is kind of high, a little higher than I'd like, but it doesn't matter because that link is there right towards at the top of the page, and that's where the link is to the site. Now that's a little bit more information typically, but like I said, Majestic.com, we want to definitely use Majestic to look at a link profile. Local citations, if you are a local business, I recommend Device Local, Bright Local. I am offering now $2 citations, and you can contact me specifically and find out about a deal that I have where basically 100 or 200 citations that are from fairly decent sites and listings. They're done manually by a human, and they're entered, and they're $2 a piece, which is probably just about as low as you can get for manually entering data. Links from other websites. We want links, but we want links that have traffic, and we want links from sites that have engagement, that have a history of engagement. When somebody does a blog post or an article on their site or a news site, there's actually engagement. That means that, people are reacting. Humans are actually reacting to that particular article or blog post that they have mentioned. A good way to find those sites are with BuzzSumo.com. Finally, I've actually been doing a fair amount of link auditing lately also, and cleaning up links and link profiles and just getting rid of the bad links. And Kerbu is a tool that's been around for a long time. They have actually a way of identifying good links versus bad links and getting a score and so forth. If you actually email the owner, one of the owners, Paul at Kerbu.com, and mention Bill Hartzer, and that you heard through me, that I've worked with Paul to offer a very specific promotion and a really good deal for using their link audit tool, and a bonus. So email Paul before you actually create an account, or create an account and then email Paul and talk to him and mention me. That's all I have for today. And that's the OffSite Tools. We talked about, going back, we talked specifically about OnPage SEO for 2020, OffPage SEO for 2020, and OffSite and OnSite SEO for 2020. That's what I have. If you have any questions specifically about anything that I've mentioned, certainly these are some of the topics that I'll be covering in future podcasts, future videos, and so forth, and future articles. So in 2020, this is what some of the things that I'm focused on this year. Thanks again. Thanks for joining me.